Jail Story, the third shift at Harmon County. I've worked inside a lot of dark places in my life, but there is one night, one single shift, that I have never told anyone about in full detail. Not my wife, not my pastor, not even the therapist the department sent me to after I put in my retirement papers 3 months early. Because some things, once you say them out loud, you can't take back. And I'm still not entirely sure what I saw that night was something the living were ever supposed to witness. My name is Gerald Pruitt. I spent 22 years as a correctional officer at Harmon County Detention Center in rural eastern Tennessee. If you've never heard of Harmon County, that's by design. It's the kind of place that doesn't make the news unless something goes very wrong. The facility itself was built in 1961 on the site of an old mining company property. 3 stories, cinder block walls painted a yellow so faded it had turned the color of old teeth. The building sat about 4 miles outside the town of Caldwell, surrounded by pine forest and a chain-link perimeter fence with rusted barbed wire on top. In winter, fog would roll it off the creek behind the property and swallow the whole facility until you couldn't see the fence from the front door. Just gray, just nothing. I worked third shift, 11 at night to 7 in the morning. By 2015, Harmon County had seen better days. The state had pulled most of its funding. The population was down to under 60 inmates spread across 3 cell blocks, and half of B block had been decommissioned entirely. Those cells had been empty for going on 3 years. Lights off, doors locked. The only reason anyone walked through B block after midnight was to check the fire exits at the far end during rounds. That walk was exactly 312 feet. I know because I counted it every single night just to have something to count. It started small, the way these things always do. In October of 2015, about 6 weeks before the night I'm going to describe, my coworker Donna Marsh mentioned that the motion sensor camera at the far end of B block had triggered 3 times in 1 week. No explanation. She'd pulled the footage herself. Nothing on it. Just the empty corridor, the locked cell doors, the single yellow emergency light at the end of the hall. She filed a maintenance report and forgot about it. I didn't forget about it, because around the same time, I started hearing something during my rounds. Not loud, not dramatic, a sound like, you know how it sounds when someone drags a chair leg slowly across a concrete floor? That low, scraping groan? I'd hear it coming from inside B block while I stood at the door. The moment I opened the door and stepped inside, it stopped. Every time. I told myself it was the building settling. Old cinder block buildings in the Tennessee hills do that in the cold. They expand and contract. I've heard 1,000 explanations for 1,000 sounds in that place and convinced myself of every single one of them. That was the job. You didn't let your mind wander in there. You couldn't afford to. But then, on a Tuesday night in late October, I saw something on the monitor that I could not explain away. At 3:17 in the morning, camera 4, which covered the middle section of B block, showed a cell door standing open. Cell B-14. I know for a fact that door was locked because I had checked it myself 2 hours earlier as part of rounds. I checked every handle on that block. Every single one. I had the log right there in front of me. I radioed Donna, who was monitoring from the control room. She pulled up the feed. We both sat there looking at that open door. Neither one of us wanted to go down there. We both know we didn't want to. But I was the senior officer on that shift, and that was the job. I grabbed my flashlight and walked B block alone. Halfway down the corridor, I stopped. The air felt different, and I know how that sounds. but there's no other word for it. Colder, heavy, like the air in a basement that's been sealed for years. I've stood in that block 1,000 times, and it has never felt like that. I reached B-14. The door was open, exactly as we'd seen it on camera. I shone my flashlight inside. The cell was empty. Bed frame, no mattress, a drain in the floor, nothing else. I stood in the doorway for probably 30 seconds trying to slow my heartbeat, checking corners, checking the ceiling for some reason I still can't explain. And that's when I heard it. From inside the cell, not from outside, not from the corridor. From inside that room, about 4 feet in front of me, where there was nothing, a voice, low, male, barely above a whisper. It said, and I have replayed this 10,000 times, it said, "He's still in here." I don't have a clean answer for what I heard, but here's what I found out afterward. I don't know why I hadn't known it before. Maybe because nobody talked about it. The way people in small facilities don't talk about the hard history of the walls they work inside. In 1987, a man named Raymond Eller died in B-14. He was 53 years old. He'd been in county holding on a check fraud charge, awaiting transfer. He died alone on a Tuesday night between 3 and 4 in the morning. The death was ruled cardiac arrest. The official paperwork was 3 pages long and had been filed away in a box in the warden's storage closet for nearly 30 years. What wasn't in the official paperwork, what I found in a handwritten note tucked into the back of that same box, written by the officer who found him, was this. Raymond Eller was found sitting upright on the edge of his bed, not lying down, eyes open, hands flat on his knees. And the cell door had been found standing open, even though the officer swore on his paperwork that he had locked it on his previous round. Nobody broke in. Nobody let Raymond out. He never left. He was sitting there in that open cell when they found him, already gone. I submitted my early retirement paperwork in December of 2015. 30 days later, I was done. On my last night, I did one final walk of B block. Call it closure, call it stubbornness. I walked it slow, flashlight on, and when I got to B-14, I stopped and I looked inside and I said out loud, quietly, "I'm leaving now." I don't know why I said it. I don't know who I thought I was talking to, but I said it. And then I heard that scraping sound again. Just once. Just a single slow drag of something heavy across the concrete floor of that empty cell. And the door, which I had not touched, swung slowly, quietly, and clicked shut.